I suffered with severe acne. I'm always ashamed of showing my face to other people. It felt like people were judging me because of the things that they see in my face. Dami kong tigyawat, and it lowers your self-esteem. Welcome to another episode of the Voice Nexter podcast. This is Kevin Imperial, and for today we are going to talk about your insecurities. Now, have you ever experienced wherein you went to the mall to buy something? For example, it's a shirt. Or let's say you are trying to fit pants, and when you face in front of the mirror, you would say, "Bagay sa akin to. This is what I want. This piece of clothing looks really good on me." And even when you proceed to the cashier, as you make the purchase, you have this sense of being excited, being really happy, sometimes even ecstatic because of that joy of purchasing something that looks good on you. You have this thinking that, okay, I will be wearing this to this event, or when I go to the office, and if my friends would see this, they would have the same sentiments. But by the time you're wearing it, and as you step out of your room, one of your family members would just suddenly say, "Ba't yan yung suot mo? Ang pangit. Uy, dapat sa'yo di nagaganyan, di bagay sa katawan mo yan." Or other words that are completely contrasting to what you have expected. And it's pretty normal, it happens. Like my taste is really different from yours. And from there, somehow, in some ways, you have created these insecurities within yourself. And that's the main focus of this episode, your insecurities. Now, I know it's very difficult to overcome your insecurities, especially if you do not know how to correct, how to rectify the roots of these things. Now, let's start with the main reason. Insecurities are developed from your mindset. Now, when you have this set of thoughts, negative thoughts from your mind, it creates your conscious validation, the way you perceive yourself, the way you set standards, the way you degrade your physical being. Examples of this is when you try your own judgment with yourself. I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, pangit ng balat ko, dami kong tigyawat, dami kong blackheads, sobrang lapad ng paa ko, ang pangit ng ipin ko, ang pangit ng boses ko, ang pangit ko. And a lot of those conscious validation for yourself based on the negative thoughts that you have in your mind. And from that conscious validation, it leads to physical validation. It's not only in your mind, but now you are articulating every single piece, every single part of your body based on your physical validation. So if you have these negative thoughts, you have this consciousness, and you have validated it physically, now it leads to negative affirmation. Yung tipong feeling mo pangit ka, titignan mo ngayon yung salamin just to check kung pangit ka talaga. And once you look at the mirror, you would say, and would affirm to yourself, "Ay, oo, ang pangit yung nga." It's like before seeing it for yourself, judgment has been created already. And it's very difficult to avoid this because what started from a negative mindset would have 3 additional stages of reflection. Stages wherein you could get affirmation from your negative thinking. And the first stage would be your family. When you attend to occasions or family gatherings, it's very common to compare among family members. Like yung bisita mo sasabihin, "Uy, kamag-anak mo yun? Ba't ang puti nun? O ba't parang ang kinis ng balat nun? Parang di naman kayo mag-anak nun? Uy, ba't ang tangkad nung pinsan mo? Uy, ba't parang ikaw lang yata di matangkad sa family niyo?" And a lot of negative things coming out from the mouth of people whom you know or even from your family members. But that's not always the case. Sometimes it's just you. Like for example, kung sa pamilya nyo ang daming mapuputi, ang daming makikinis, ang daming matatangkad, ang daming matatalino, and if you are completely the opposite of what you are seeing in the family, that's the first stage of creating this type of insecurity. But that's not always the case. Other people would still have this positive thinking that maybe sa family ko lang to, or di naman siguro ganun, or maybe somehow in some ways I do look good. So now we move on to the second stage, which is social media. When you're at home or when you are in your room, you try to browse the internet, especially with social media platforms. When you scroll up and down and you see in your newsfeed, like people whom you know or people who are just acquaintance to you, you would see all these perfect shots, like sobrang gaganda nila, parang sobrang daming pera nila, kasi nga panay travel nila, panay kain lang. Yung tipong pag-clinic mo yung My Day post or IG stories nila, yung tipong nagmumukhang menu ng restaurant, ang daming post na ulam, ang daming post na gala, and daming brag about the things that they have recently purchased. Yung tipong when you look at their accounts, it seems like they're living a perfect life. when in fact they're really not. And most of the time, if you have these pre-existing insecurities, you would dive in with the idea that they are trying to portray, or at least the status that they would like to create for themselves. So again, it would be the second stage of your validation. Ay, oo nga, ang hirap lang namin. Ay, oo nga, di ako maganda, di ako gwapo, di ako matalino, wala akong pera, ang pangit ko, sobrang taba ko, and all of those stuff. But not all would be really affected by those things. That's why the third stage would come in. And the third stage is social engagement. Your social engagement is divided into 4 areas or 4 sources. The first one is at your school. If you are still a student, you would always compare yourself with other people, other students. Let's say for example, mas malaki ang baon, would give you an idea that yes, I am poor. Or if you know someone who is really good at class, again, it would give you the idea that you're not smart enough, or at least your grades doesn't show to be smart enough, and even the slightest popularity that students create at school. It's very common kapag nag-aaral ka, you have these individuals who are really good at making friends, who are very active in different organizations, and sometimes that can affect you. It gives you the idea that you're not valuable enough because you're not making a lot of friends, you're not popular at school even though you are doing your best. But again, it's all in the mind. The second source from your social engagement would be your work environment. If you're already working, if you have office mates, it's very common to compare and contrast with other people, with other employees. The basis would be the amount of salary that you're earning, the type of clothes you are wearing in the office, and a lot of other stuff inside the office. The third source from your social engagement would be public places, whether it's in the mall, in the park, church, in a public market, and the fourth source would be public transportation. It's very common kahit nakasakay ka lang sa jeep, sa bus, or kahit sa tricycle. Yung tipong gusto mo lang naman makauwi, but during the ride, you would see someone na sobrang kinis yung balat, yung tipong naka-jeep nga, pero glass skin yung muka, naka-iPhone, yung uniform alam mo na galing sa mamahaling eskwelahan, and all of other stuff that you would normally notice when you ride public transportation. Now, all of those things, it's like you're drowning with your own negative thinking, own toxic thoughts. Now, it's you pulling your mind down towards negativity. Well, I'm not saying it's very easy to get rid of these things, all of these thoughts. When I was growing up, I had my own struggles as well. When I was in high school, I was really thin. I had pimples. I had acne as well. I had acne scars. And aside from that, I had family struggles. And even when I already graduated from college, I suffered with severe acne. I'm always ashamed of showing my face to other people. It felt like people were judging me because of the things that they see in my face. Dami kong tigyawat. And it lowers your self-esteem. And I know even for you, to those who are listening to this, maybe you're suffering from obesity, you're thinking, sobrang tabako. If you have acne, most especially with acne, sobrang nakakababa ng self-esteem, thinking that you are ugly, it prevents you from communicating or reaching to other people thinking that they might not be very comfortable facing you. And it sucks. Even though it starts in the mind, it really kills you from the inside. And I know the feeling, I've been there. So now our main aim is how to fix this, how to fix your mindset, and how you would get rid of your insecurities. Since it started from your mindset, let's start with your mind. The first thing that we must do is to clear your mind. I know your insecurities are already existing. Now for one moment in your life, decide on it. Just clear your mind. Because you see, it has been months, years, or even decades that you have been stuck with this negative mindset. Now, what I would like you to do is just for once, clear your mind. And once your mind is clear, set your goals. This time, since you know your insecurities, may it be your body weight. Let's say, for example, I'm too fat or I'm too thin. I have a lot of acne, I have pimples, I have acne scars, I am not smart enough, and a lot of those things. Since you know that you're fat, the question is, what are you going to do? You see, sometimes we're complaining of the things that are existing in our lives, and instead of acting on it, we tend to indulge into that feeling, into those habits. Like you always complain of being fat, but then again you spoil yourself with eating too much, eating unhealthy food. So now it's time to set your goals. If you're too fat, work on it. Have a diet plan, control your food intake, be mindful of your health, and focus on how to reduce your weight and in achieving your desired physique. If you have a lot of acne, now try to think what's causing your acne. Is it the soap that you're using? Is it the practices that you're doing? Is it the type of food that you're eating? Is it the sleeping habits that you have? Is it hereditary pattern? Find the cause, consult from experts, look on the remedies, and cure yourself as much as possible. If you can't do it, you can ask for professional advice. If you would complain you're not smart enough, think of the things on how you can improve yourself. Read books, study, improve yourself, invest in knowledge, feed your mind, and grow yourself into becoming smarter, wiser, and better than you were yesterday. Because you see, you already know that these things are existing. What you need to do is to act on it. Don't let a day pass to live another day of insecurity. And when you're done setting your goals, now it's time to create a timeline. You can't just say na, okay, mataba ako so plano kong mag-exercise o plano kong mag-diet or plano kong gawin to or plano kong mag-reduce sa ganito. The next question is, when? Until when will you be in that state and when will you act? And aside from that, when will you achieve this? So it's very important that when you set your goals, you must know when is the time to start and when do you want to achieve these things. When you are clear with your timeline, now it's time to recalibrate your mindset. Because now you're not living in the past. You're living from your experiences and applying it in your present. It's now time to focus on your strengths since you already have these insecurities that you are working on. Focus on your strengths as well. Even though you don't have a clear skin, even though you're fat, even though you think you're ugly, even though you think you're not smart enough. Because you see, when you start appreciating your strengths, it would flourish, it would fuel you, it would guide you to go a long way for you to unlock new potential and for you to overcome your insecurities as you work your way on it. Your greatest challenge would be overcoming laziness as well. Because sometimes it's very comfortable for us to set things for the next day. Okay, I will start tomorrow, then the day after tomorrow, then for the next week, for the next 2 weeks, for the next month, for the next year. It's always that mentality. It's the same with your New Year's resolution. Setting things for the next year. Now the question is, why would you want to do it next year if you can start working on it now? So act immediately and get out of that comfort zone. Because you see, comfort zone is a good place, but it's not the right place if you would want to grow. And most of the time, we would want the sense of pampalubag loob na good things happen to those who wait. But sorry my friend, that's not the case. It no longer works. Good things happen to those who work on their dreams, who work on their goals. And when you undergo this process, set your own standards. Like your standard of beauty is based on your standards, based on what you think is beautiful, and not based it from the beauty that is defined by social media, by your family, or by the people that surround you. Because you see, when your standards are based on your own, you will have this sense of fulfillment, you will have this sense of satisfying yourself with the achieved goal, and you will have this sense of contentment. And it goes the same way. When you're happy, you are contented. And when you're contented, well, of course, you are happy. Always remember that you're not doing this for other people, but you're doing this for your own good. And even though this might be very mind-boggling, always remember that your mental health matters.